He challenged aliens, and won, using human logic. Dale Chambers was never supposed to be the ambassador to the Galactic Confederation. The actual ambassador had contracted a nasty case of Betelgeusian scale rot 3 days before the historic first contact meeting. As the janitor who happened to be mopping the floor outside the quarantine chamber, Dale was the only human the aliens had seen who wasn't covered in purple pustules. "You'll do," the Admiralty had said. And suddenly the 34-year-old former philosophy major with a penchant for old sci-fi novels and instant ramen was representing all of humanity to the 17 most advanced species in the known universe. The thing was, Dale didn't particularly mind. Life as a janitor for the United Earth Space Command had its perks: decent pay, standard-issue living quarters with an actual window, and access to the best coffee in the solar system. But it lacked a certain excitement that Dale had always craved. And now here he was, stepping aboard the massive Confederation diplomatic vessel, wearing a hastily tailored uniform with too tight shoulders and shoes that squeaked with every step. "Human Chambers, you will now be escorted to the Chamber of Preliminary Assessment," announced his guide, an 8-foot-tall insectoid being with gleaming carapace and multifaceted eyes that reflected Dale's face back at him 100 times over. "I am Protocol Officer Tizkick of the Arthroxi Hive. Please match my pace precisely and refrain from unnecessary respiratory functions." Dale nodded, taking an extra deep breath just because he could. "Lead the way, Tez. Mind if I call you Tez? The whole name's a bit of a tongue twister for us humans." The Arthroxi's mandibles clicked in what Dale assumed was disapproval. "You may address me as Protocol Officer Tizkick of the Arthroxi Hive, nothing less. Name abbreviation is considered a form of diminishment in all 17 Confederation cultures." "Right. Got it. Sorry about that, Protocol Officer Tizkick of the Arthroxi Hive." Dale flashed his most diplomatic smile. "Just trying to establish a friendly rapport. Rapport is established through precision and adherence to protocol, not verbal shortcuts," the insectoid replied, leading Dale down a corridor that seemed to stretch into infinity, its walls pulsing with a bioluminescent blue glow. Dale noticed that every 20 steps the Arthroxi would pause, rotate exactly 30 degrees to the left, and then continue. He made a mental note to ask about this peculiar behavior later, preferably when they weren't on their way to what sounded like a judgment chamber. The ship itself was unlike anything human engineering had ever accomplished. The walls seemed alive, responding to the presence of those walking past with subtle shifts in coloration. The air had a distinct scent, not unpleasant but alien, reminiscent of cinnamon, ozone, and something Dale couldn't quite place. The gravity was just slightly lighter than Earth's, giving each step a buoyant quality that made Dale feel like he might accidentally bounce into the ceiling if he wasn't careful. After what seemed like hours of walking, pausing, and rotating, they arrived at a massive circular door that spiraled open from its center, revealing a cavernous chamber beyond. Inside, representatives from each of the 17 Confederation species sat in a perfect circle, each on what appeared to be a specially designed seat that accommodated their unique physiologies. "The human representative has arrived. Protocol," Officer Tsikik announced, its voice suddenly amplified to fill the enormous space. "Preliminary assessment will now commence." Dale stepped forward, feeling 16 sets of alien eyes and various other sensory organs fixed upon him. The silence was deafening. Hello there," he ventured, raising a hand in greeting. "Dale Chambers, representing Earth and humanity. It's an honor to be here. I hope we can establish a fruitful relationship between our worlds." The silence continued for another excruciating 30 seconds before a being that appeared to be made entirely of crystalline structures spoke, its voice reverberating like wind chimes in a storm. "The human employs unauthorized greeting protocols and exhibits chaotic communication patterns," it observed. "Assessment indicator, negative." A gelatinous mass of blue tentacles pulsed in what might have been agreement. Its bilateral symmetry suggests limited perspective. Its epidermal fragility indicates evolutionary inadequacy. Assessment indicator, negative. One by one, each representative offered their initial assessment of humanity's worth, based entirely on Dale's appearance and brief greeting. None were positive. Dale stood there, sweating slightly in his too-tight uniform.